Hello, Doppelklick. Me, 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 me. Very insightful, thank you. Ah. Only 3 days late? Okay. Well, technically not quite 3 days yet. Because, normally that stream would happen Monday in 2 hours. So, El Bozo. Many new shiny weapons. I don't think I've streamed since the many new shiny weapons, but all of them are many and new and shiny. Most of the kids are really, really cool, to be honest. And then there's Undercover, but we don't talk about Undercover. Oh wait, never mind. I had the I had the tournament. Oh, I had the tournament in the Big Run stream. No, I actually did stream with these kids. I forgot. You see, those are the kind of streams that my mind just tries to, like, push away from reality. That doesn't want to remember that. Coping mechanism, yeah. Let's gamble. We're still waiting a bit for them salmon balls. We're still waiting a bit for the Kochi to play it like a few extra games. So we have time to gamble all my money away. Actually, I'm gonna buy stuff first. I'm gonna buy and then I'm going to gamble. Haha. This is now a gambling stream. I hope Twitch doesn't ban me for that. Ooh, special charger. Now, do I care about these shoes? Oh, it's shoes that I don't actually have yet. Oh, that's crazy. I thought I had pretty much everything, but I guess there's still stuff that I don't. Fucking sandals with socks. Can you at least, yeah, you can at least remove the socks, okay. Now you see feet. So I'm gonna put my normal shoes on. I really care about intensify action shoes, but like they don't look bad, so I'm gonna buy them anyway. Monkey. Mm. Hmm. I like the new dualies. I feel like dualies already have two really good kits. But I like this as like a better version, basically a better version of the other aggressive kit, which is the Amparies. And like Splashdown works well for this weapon, but Bubble is just better than Splashdown. It's just like Splashdown is good, don't get me wrong. And it's nice for this weapon because you can do like roll in, do Splashdown, continue fighting. And that's really cool. And that fits this weapon's playstyle really nicely. But also, Fizzy is just an upgrade. Especially now that they've changed it so like this paints a consistent line. Fizzy is just straight up an upgrade over Curling Bomb. And it allows you to play a lot more aggro than you could with Curling. And Bubble is just really, really good, just in general. If someone wants to fight you, and then, like, you as a duelist, because duelists are wacky, you just get in a really awkward position on the map. And the other duelists would then just kind of have to jump out, or maybe try to, like, do something with Splashdown. And this one can just pop a bubble, and now this duelie is here. And no one can do anything against that. And, like, even if, like, it also gives you a beacon to jump back, even if you, like, roll off a ledge or something. So it's honestly just really good. Definitely, I think the more favorable of the two aggro duelies. And then V duelies are just still, they're probably still the better kit. Because V duelies are just insanely good as a kit. Suction Crab is just insane. So this would probably still be the best one. But it kind of depends on what weapon comp you want. To think about, like, am I picking this one, am I picking the more aggro duelies? Because this one is really good for retake. It helps, like, when the the rest of the comp doesn't have much to retake with, then this weapon's really nice just because you, like, you have that, like, crab tank, you have a suction to retake with. Both of which are just really good. But if the rest of the comp like already has a bunch of range and a bunch of specials, then I think the other one, like the new one, is better. Because it synergizes. Like this dually is really good as like a aggro support hybrid, because sometimes it can just stick into that role of like, I'm gonna just paint the floor a bit, be a bit annoying, throw suctions, and then I get my funny crab, and then I just do funny crab things. But I think the new one is just way better for being just constantly in your face aggro. This bubble just synergizes with that kind of playstyle really well. Okay. Okay. I think we are ready to get started. So I will drag them into here. Hello there. Oh, we are deafened right now. Oh, hello.
Hello. Yeah, I didn't know what the other channel was for, but I see it was just like for dragging one.
Yep.
A person like.
Okay. It just makes it a lot easier, so people can't just randomly join this VC when I'm streaming with someone else, like coaching someone else.
Did it happen before?
No. That's I've had this kind of system from the start.
Okay.
Not that I think that people would like actively want to join in, but sometimes people may just not know what's going on. So it's just a safer system.
Okay. So just to let you know, like English is not my native language, but I
Mhm.
still understand and all that. So if
Okay. Yeah,
if I
that's
say something weird, like it's because of that.
yep, that's totally fine. It's also not my native language either, so very
Oh, it's
understandable.
not.
No.
Okay. So I'm just uploading the
Hmm.
replays right now.
Okay.
Got two of Clownblades and one of Rainmaker, which
Hmm.
I feel the Rainmaker one is kind of it's the only one above 2000 X power, so
Okay.
I guess it's good.
Scorch Museum. Oh, that's two really good Rainmaker maps as well. Um, yeah, sure. I don't think the like it matters too much for like VOD reviewing if it's above 2000 or not. Um, but I can get
Oh, it
if you want to
doesn't
look at
matter
it
much.
first. I wouldn't say
Well, yeah.
so. I don't think like power matters much in general.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I imagine like people like do the same errors or like habits, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the match is. Okay. Should I send the codes on
Yeah, you can just DM me.
TM, right?
Yep.
Okay. Rainmaker, Rainmaker.
Okay. Let me get started with putting these in then.
Yep.
But
I
yeah, we
thought
can.
I
Mhm. Go
I
ahead.
did poorly on Rainmaker, but
Okay.
it's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about that. That's ultimately why we're here.
Yeah.
Um, 5, 9, Y. Um, okay, that's do you that web like that game was from 52. Do you generally play that, or do you play like some other shooters as well?
Yeah, that's my main weapon.
Okay,
52.
sounds good.
Sometimes I play Octobrush, but that's because I like sometimes I my aim fails too much and I say
Hmm.
like, oh, I need something that doesn't need to aim and I just play Octobrush.
Fair.
But yeah, I don't like it much. That much.
Okay. Um, yeah, that looks good. I've played 52 a bunch in competitive, so um, it's a weapon I can hopefully give some good pointers on.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, that'll be good. Like my main issue, I feel it's like I've played like for too long on like autopilot or stuff like that, you know. So
mhm,
sometimes I feel like I just play 52, but I'm not actually like doing what I'm supposed to do, which is like, you know, using the wall to
mhm.
zone or all that. So if you notice something like that on the bots, well, that would be good too. Because I need a bit more of practice with this weapon.
Okay, that sounds good. Oh God, Lemuria Clan Blitz.
Is that?
That map is infamous in competitive play for like being really stally. Um, I don't know
Yeah.
how it is like if you aren't playing competitively. I guess we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want, we can start with the Rainmaker one.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Oh, there's different names. I forgot about the
Yeah,
change.
that's the latest update, I think.
Yep. Okay. Um, so one thing you mentioned is that you sometimes struggle with analyzing weapon comps, right?
Yeah, like I know what weapons are on the match, but I don't like particularly like remember. Well, I do remember the specials and stuff, but it's sort of
Hmm.
like I don't plan ahead of time with them. You know, like it's not like
Okay.
Oh, I know they'll booyah to zone me out or do this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like sometimes I know when they have it and just run from there. Like Tetris having
Mm-hmm.
the the rain no not rainmaker. What's the
Yeah,
name of
Reef
that
Slider.
special? Yeah, replay. Okay, I know when they have it, but
Mm-hmm. Okay.
sometimes I don't know like the play what they'll do with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, we'll see where if we can see stuff like that in the game. I think we can generally just start out by like looking at these two team comps. Wait 1 second, I forgot to screen share. Oops. I'm very smart. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, it's okay. I also have the live stream open, but I
Yeah,
feel it's it
it's
should be slower, right?
yeah, there's a bit of delay, which is why the um the screen share is a bit better. Actually, does this work? I
Oh,
think it
yeah.
does. Are you hearing like sounds doubly? So like, are you hearing like my voice twice right now?
No,
Interesting.
uh,
Okay,
this one's.
that's good. That's really good because in the past when I like worked with similar solutions, then that'd always be like the voice twice. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, okay. Anyways, weapon comms. This is interesting. I think or like I'm curious of like what is the first thing that like you'd think of when you see those two comps?
Um, or particularly, I only like see the most important thing. Like I feel like the most important thing on the enemy team is that they have cooler.
Yes,
Because-
definitely.
Yeah,
For sure.
but
Cooler
on my
is
team,
mhm.
I don't see much. You know, it's
Yeah,
I just know like, oh, we have Booyah, we have Kraken,
mhm.
and all that.
Yeah. Um, Cooler is definitely the most important thing to notice because that makes the biggest impact on what's actually going on in the game and what we kind of want to play to. Um, because if the enemy team has a cooler, then if they have the effect, then we need to be a lot more careful, right? Because if we trade the enemy team, then that's effectively a win for them because they'll be back much, much faster than we would.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's something we have to watch out for, that if they have the effect, we need to play a bit more safely. At least usually. It's always you always need to be careful with statements like this. To like there are some situations where that isn't the case. But generally speaking, it's a good idea to play safer if the enemy team has cooler effect. Um,
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I didn't do that on this match.
yeah,
But like,
we'll see.
um, mm, no, I was about let the replay go. Like, I was about to ask you, like, how should we play around cooler, like, without like stalling too much or like not doing anything? Because like,
Like if
yeah, I
if
feel
you
like the
don't have
effect
cooler, you mean?
takes very long.
Yeah, the effect is basically too long to stall it out. We'll see if we can get some examples of this in the game. But the basic idea is
Okay.
to try to take like risks a bit less, um, and instead try some other techniques like painting a bit more, painting your way in, maybe sharking in, because that's something that they can't do if they have cooler if they're coolered. But that you can do because yeah, you're sharking basically. Um, we'll see in the game if we can get a bit more depth on that. Um, yeah, the rest, like just real quick, the rest of the comp, it'd be good for like these two weapons need a bit of paint to function well. Sword technically can paint for itself, but it's a lot nicer if it has paint and it doesn't need to paint. Um,
Yeah.
so that will mostly be the job of like your teammate here, and to some degree you as well, to just keep the map painted, so everyone can follow up as quickly as possible. And then the
Yeah,
rest is just
mostly
like, I
the
guess to
range, I
some degree be
imagine.
aware of that. hmm Okay. Um, yeah, I don't hate this red drop. it's a really nice off angle. Okay. Yeah. This drop, like, on the right is a really, really nice off angle. Where, like, from the top of the screen, right? Like, if people are looking at the Rainmaker, then you are coming from the side and surprising them. You still have to be aware of people, like, shooting at you from here, which is, I think, what gets you killed here.
Yeah, I wasn't aware.
Yep. Specifically with 52, like, a good idea here is just to throw down a wall. It's opening, so, like, you have enough ink tank to throw a wall, and that just makes this whole
Yeah.
engagement a lot safer.
Okay.
But yeah, we get out a trade, so it's totally fine. Sure. Okay. Yeah, this is a situation where I think we have to be a bit more careful. When looking at this map in general. And like it's just like being aware of like warning signals basically. And that's something that just takes a bit of time to get better at that. But something like we could notice right here is that there's a lot of enemy paint, especially like going forward, and there's this paintbrush here. And especially the brush you need to be careful of, because if they can like get close to you and start swinging, then that's a really consistent and really fast kill. So this is something where we have to be a bit more careful with moving forward here, because we know that there's an enemy here that like can kill us relatively safely. So like general takeaway there would be try to like watch out for paint a bit more and like where enemies are. And we'll see if that happens more.
Okay, so the idea is to like paint a little bit more.
Yeah, or like
yeah, to get like if there's someone around there and all that.
Yeah, basically.
Like I feel like in the moment I didn't see the paintbrush.
Yeah.
So I was like trying to.
Yeah, probably not. And that's something like where you can get better over time with like realizing like there's an enemy there, they probably move over here. We can to some degree even see the particles. That's something that like in the game is at first very difficult to notice, but if you train yourself to do that, then over time you can get better with that. If you like, yeah, do training to see those kind of signals. And with, I guess we can talk about that in a second, what that kind of training would look like. Then you can get more consistent at that. Another thing that you can do, which like what you mentioned totally works, is just take a bit more time with decisions like this. Instead of just like swimming forward, drop here and then take a bit of time to paint this up. And that totally works to just give you a bit more time to like see, gather more information, see where enemies are, and make a decision then.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good punish for them being so overextended there. Good job.
Yeah, they had cooler. Oh.
Yeah, that's goes into a similar direction of like the thing that happened with the paintbrush before.
Yeah. This
like
type of weapons actually gives me problems.
Yeah. It's not that easy to deal with paintbrushes, to be fair. But yeah, it's a similar idea of like we didn't know if it was safe, or like if there were people behind this wall. And in that specific situation, they actually knew you were exactly where you were because like they had the like point sensor effect on you, just from the wavebreaker initial thing. So like another case where I think it'd have been a bit better to stay like a bit more careful to like not walk forward as fast.
Yeah, makes sense. Like I felt like I could have like flanked or something, like the enemy team developed around the Rainmaker, but they can also do that.
Nice, okay. Yeah. This like interaction so far was generally really good. I like that you like threw the wall down there. Um, like after here, like throwing the wall, just kind of seeing if you can do anything here. Pushing forward is a bit more dangerous, but you get away with it. That whale death is really unfortunate. Oh, it's a curling actually. Whoa, crazy. That just happens.
Yeah, I didn't see it at all, but I was surprised there.
hmm Nice. Yeah, good job for like catching that. hmm Okay. This is like a stretch of like a period where I think kind of the opposite of of the things we talked about so far is true. Where you're playing this like really, really safely, um, without like actually like um putting down any pressure towards the enemy team. Um, I guess we can maybe look at this from overhead real quick. Um, yeah, because like they are really far back in like their part of mid right now, and like we as a team are still pretty much just trying to like play around our plat when we could move up a lot further. Um, I think like a lot of this is coming from um, basically not thinking about where enemies are enough or like not seeing that enough. Um, and that like the way I phrased that right there makes it kind of sound like that's a bad thing or anything. That's just how it is. That's just how like everyone starts out. And you like your training probably means or like how much you've played so far probably means you're much better at the average person than on those kind of things. Um, but it's something where like there's still opportunities to improve.
Yeah, I
Um,
think at the moment I didn't know where anyone was, so
mhm,
yeah, that makes
Yeah,
a lot of sense.
okay. We can talk about that real quick. About just like being aware of where people are and what to do because of that. Because there's a bunch of basic ideas basically um, that I think could help us a lot in this regard. Um, the first one I'll bring up is a really, really fundamental one to this game, which is basically how much paint do we have? Paint is actually a surprisingly good indicator of where people are. It's really like maybe wouldn't expect it, but in like it just kind of makes sense. Like in the game about paint, that paint is a really good indicator of where things are going on. So like in this kind of situation, we can see like they have paint over here. They technically have a bit over here. Um, and that's pretty much where the enemy team is, right? They just are where they have paint because
Yeah,
that's safest for them. Like the area that they are around, they want to have paint. And if they are in your paint, then they're really overextended, and you can probably punish them for that. Um, so that's kind of the first thing we can try to look at when thinking about like what should I do? Where are enemies right now? Is just kind of look at where is paint. Um, and that's a good indicator of like how far up your team can be, how far up you should be. Because like as a frontline weapon like a 52, the idea is usually to try to be as close to this kind of line where like basically the paint stops being in your color as possible. In most cases, that is. So usually like if possible, you want to be in a kind of space where like um you are like somewhere around here, you like maybe have a wall up, and then you try to take fights like into enemy paint. That's the general idea for frontline weapons.
oh, yeah. I felt like I had this struggle before in zones mostly because like
hmm
whenever I got a wipeout or stuff like that, like I stay like around the middle and paint like to
hmm
get more zone, but then I don't go around like what I painted on to the other base, you know.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, especially in zones where like um there's that kind of objective, like we're just imagining that this is zones now, um, that you want to paint. You still have to worry about like all the paint around that, right? If players kind of
Yeah,
try to push you from like those kind of areas that they just painted up and that they're pushing you through, then you can't really expect yourself to hold this and you just have to back up a bit. Um, at least that's what I think the situation is you described. Um,
yeah, it's pretty good.
mhm.
And whenever you get control of all that zone, like I don't tend to go like to the enemy base,
Oh,
to keep
yeah,
pressure.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Because like in zones, it's really valuable to push forward to like get to a space where you can stop people from even getting to the zone, or like stop the enemy from even getting to the zone. And that's really, really nice because then like you just get points. There's nothing they can do.
yeah,
So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Is like to keep an eye out of like where is paint and what can I
hmm
do? Because basically everything that is in your color paint allows you to move around, allows you to like do a lot more things and get away with them because you just have this like safety net to fall back on where you can move around fast, where you can back up fast, all that kind of stuff. Um,
yeah,
and like as a frontline weapon, it's basically your job to move that line further,
yeah.
to paint up more,
And
to push up more, to kill
yeah,
enemies that are trying to paint, stuff like that. Okay. One good way you can do that is kind of just checking the map every now and then. So wow. Just like if you're playing, just like pull up the map real quick, for like half a second. If you practice it, you can maybe even get faster than that. Um, Something I just do sometimes is just boom boom, just like for even just like as fast as I can pull up the map and like look at what kind of information the map gives me, because the map is really
oh
really useful. Um,
yeah,
we're in the replay mode right now, so it shows us a bit more information than usual. So
yeah,
usually you wouldn't see enemy
really
players until
doesn't
they are damaged.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah, mostly I use the map to check like the allies location, and yeah, I do uh see the paint on the map, but like not that much. Like mostly like I just see like where my teammates are.
yeah,
So yeah, that's a
both
good.
of these are really useful. Um, because that's kind of the other idea of like pulling up the map in situations like this is you can also see where your teammates are and see like maybe I can follow up on a fight there. Especially if there's like enemies that are maybe damaged, then you can see them on the map as well. And that's
Yeah.
also a really good indicator of like where are fights going on that I can maybe help my team with. Um, so yeah, that's one thing. Um, like you could try and incorporate a bit more, or like a bit more consistently or whatever. It's like opening the map, seeing what kind of paint control we have. You don't need to. Like, the map is a really, really good tool to like get a good overview of everything. But at the same time, a lot of that can also be done with just like your eyes, like with your third person camera. Um,
Yeah.
so it's a bit of both. A bit of just like when you're moving around, looking at that kind of like paint, that these kind of warning signals more. Um, but also like the map is also a good idea.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, then the other thing you could train, which is it's basically a skill, right? Being able to see where enemies are and kind of keep track of that. And it's not a very easy skill. It's something that's definitely like you basically have to put in training to like get better at that. Um, but it is something where like that is really valuable. Just seeing like if we maybe like remember the spot of the game and go back to the start, where like from your
Oh,
camera there was a small moment where you could wait, not a bit further, um, like after this first death, um, like from your camera there was a small moment where you could see the paintbrush and where you could see like paint or like them moving around in their paint. So yeah, we
yeah,
can
but
see them
they,
right
they
here.
should still be on the same side, right? Or around there, I
Sorry,
imagine.
could you repeat?
Oh, like yeah. So if I saw the paintbrush on the camera, then not enough time has passed, so they should be like around there still,
Yes,
right?
exactly. That's the idea here. To be able to
Oh,
see them, um, remember that they're here, and then think, okay, they are gonna stay in this rough area here. And maybe we can even see those particles moving towards us. That's the kind of like warning signal, those like that awareness skill basically. That's like kind of difficult to learn, but that's really, really valuable if you're good at it. Like to be able to like see that paintbrush, remember them, see those particles. I know they're here now.
yeah.
And basically the way to train that is just to go in a game specifically trying to do that as much as possible. It sounds like a bit trivial, but
No, no, I
that's for
get it.
almost all like training methods. It's basically having one specific thing you want to improve on, and then just doing that as much as you can. Um, and even like trying to put other things into the background as like a bit more. Like when you normally try to focus on like winning fights as much as possible, trying to put that into the background a bit more in favor of just looking at where enemies are as much as you can and remembering that and like trying to get better at seeing all those like kind of like paint trails going around and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's deliberate practice, I guess, right?
Yep, exactly. Um, that's the scientific term behind it. I think like scientifically deliberate practice would be a bit more actually, but we can keep it at that.
Yeah, just iterating.
Um, yeah. So for that kind of awareness stuff, I think it's really valuable to just go in a game with the idea of let's keep track of where all the enemies are, or like as many as enemies as I can. Um, let's like get better at looking at my camera, seeing where like seeing certain enemies in certain positions, and then just thinking about where could they go next, that kind of stuff. And then the idea is that
Okay.
over time, those kind of ideas go into your subconscious memory, or like your subconscious mind, and that in future, like maybe in like the next day or the next week, if you continue doing this practice, that just becomes second nature to you, to think about where people are going and what you can do about that.
Okay.
Okay, let's go
Yeah.
back to this. Hmm.
So it'll be like way easier. Because like right now, if you start from zero and like trying to track the location of 4 players, you just like get like pretty overwhelming. But I guess it's just like brick by brick.
Yep, exactly.
Or yeah.
And like, you'll probably not get to a point where you can remember like do this for all 4 players. Like I also don't do that. That's just a bit too much. But you can like with a lot of practice prioritize like which players are most important in a situation, which players you really need to think about where they are going, what they are doing. Um, and that's the kind of stuff where like doing a lot of that practice will make you like get a lot better.
Okay.
Okay. I don't hate like sharking on the right here. They also didn't see the drop, so that totally works. Hmm.
Yeah,
Unfortunate.
that was my aim.
Yeah, we messed this up mechanically, but the idea is really good. So like I don't even think it's that important to talk about mechanics here. I really like this idea, specifically because like the Rainmaker is still here, so people will likely just still be around this area.
Yeah.
Um, and this is a really nice flank. So I like this a lot. I think it's again like situation where like if we throw down a wall while we start shooting or like after we start missing our first shots, then this would probably be a lot safer. But like, yeah, that just
Okay.
happens.
Yeah. Because like
Hmm.
you see, like I have a few problems with the walls. Like I just give them a lot, but then in the moments I need to use them, I don't.
Yeah. Nice. Good job. You actually, yo, this is a really good evasion. Really, really good job on avoiding the Reaps ladder there. I didn't expect that.
Me neither, but I just saw it and it just went away.
I think it's a funny thing where like they yeah,
I don't know
you're
why
under
they
this
did it.
ledge. And because you're under this like on the bottom of this small ramp, your Reaps ladder explosion doesn't get you. Which is really,
Yeah.
really funny.
No, and the
Um,
wall stuff is too, like.
yeah, good job. I like this whale as well. We can start moving forward here. Nice, good job. That was a really clean fight. I like how like you used whale and then you pushed up with that whale. Good job.
Yeah.
hmm Yeah, this is also a really good wall. Do more of those kinds of walls. Where like
Okay.
you move forward into an area, or like you want to move forward into an area that is still contested, and you use that wall to stay to stay safe here. We end up like overextending for this a bit basically, which leads to us getting
Yeah.
punished. But like the wall part of this fight was good. And then like after that was just like an aim/movement thing that just happens. Unfortunate.
Yeah. I didn't see the
Yeah.
bow.
hmm
Yeah, I didn't jump there because like
Yep. Yeah, I
thought
agree
they were
with
all
not
bad.
jumping. It's the safe option in that scenario. It's another case where like maybe we could like move up faster or like be a bit further forward in this situation.
Yeah.
So we took like a relatively like slow approach here with like doing this and then throwing a wall here. When we could like we still had a bunch of paint controls, so we maybe could have gotten into like a position where we could have sharked in or something like that. But ultimately like this still works. Unfortunate. I think we died to the bow again. Yeah, rough. That happens.
Yeah, no, they're ghetto on the day.
hmm hmm I like how you're like staying relatively safe here. When like
Yeah.
enemies have a lot of specials, they have a lot of control here. So it's good that you like stay safe, throw walls, stay in your ink. I like that. Nice. And then this whale is really good to like locate them and move forward. Really good like fight taking here. Nice, good job. Oh, they are lagging.
Yeah, yeah, that was.
Netcode moments. Oh god.
Yeah,
Oh, what
like
is going on here?
awkward on this side.
Oh god. A lot of the fights you took here were really good, but it's a bit difficult to judge just because of the lag.
Yeah. Yeah, like I thought that like the paintbrush was dead here, but got so laggy.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Good job jumping in. Nice. Good job on like actually trading that bow. It's a bit weird because like we aren't in a position where we can actually move up with the Rainmaker because there's still people like around here. It's like when you went for that bow, like it was basically like trying to trade that with the knowledge that there will probably be someone behind you that can like trade you back a second after. So it's a bit risky.
Yeah.
Um, it's a really nice
It's
like
like
advantage to get them out of that position.
yeah.
The rest of the team is dead, so we can't really move up. But it's interesting. Very risky.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
keep that in mind because like it's similar to what happened with the paintbrush at the start. Like just went straight for the kill, but then
Yeah.
actually checked like surroundings.
Yeah. Oh, that's probably game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
felt like I was like, if I had killed that paintbrush, I would like maybe. Yeah, we could have pushed a little bit more.
Yeah, there would have been an opportunity at least. Um, yeah, at the end of that game, that was just like probably mostly just being scared of like we have to move forward, we have to get lead, which is fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's another point where like we kind of have to keep in mind like where are the enemies, which like which fights that I can take here are safe, because this is kind of like you get the pick and that's really good, but there's this person
Yeah,
around here
really
that can immediately trade you.
fail. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a similar thing to before, where like basically keeping track of enemies and like overall game state would be really valuable. Yeah, you do a good job of like punishing almost everyone here. We don't quite get the paintbrush, which is unfortunate. Um, but we get like the rest of the people trying to move forward, which is really strong. Um, okay, yeah. Um, we, yeah, I think that's what's most important about for now. Do you have any other questions about this game?
No, that was pretty much a lot of information.
Okay.
Yeah, I did take my notes.
Oh, huge. Um, mm,
Okay, but yeah, it makes sense because like when pushing, I usually like forget about that. Like I just go and try to
mhm,
kill whatever I
mhm.
see.
Yeah.
I feel I'm slightly better at like defending
Hmm.
than pushing.
That makes sense, yeah. Um, yeah, we can take a look at this, I guess. Yeah. Pushing is a bit more difficult because, like, at least when you aren't playing zones, you actively have to, like, push into the enemy team. And on defense, like, the main idea is just to hold the space that you already have. Again, with the exception being zones, where, like, in zones you actually have to take back space.
Yeah.
Um, and, like, holding space is just generally a lot easier in this game, especially with something like a wall. Um, mhm. Okay. Um, this is like a relatively safe opening, but I don't specifically hate it on this map. Especially in Clam Blitz, where like doing more safe openings is totally fine. Um, I don't hate that.
Yeah, Clam is like the mode I've played the least.
Hmm.
And like I mostly feel like I have to get like all those like starting clams.
um,
But yeah, in other modes I usually tend to go on the aggressive route
yep.
at the start.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, Generally, like in my opinion, getting all the start clamps is usually a good idea. Um, at least as a team. It's a bit weird with like if you should be the weapon to do it, because like 52 really likes moving up like fast at the opening and
Yeah,
just getting down a wall fast. Um, but like in a solo queue environment where you can't really coordinate that, I don't hate the idea of just playing it safe, just getting clamps. Um, yeah. Um, mhm. Okay. Yeah, this is this is this is just like Flounder hides as a map. Um, you
yeah, I hate
you
it.
are just on the spot and try to do something for 10 years. There are these flanks, and I like that you're taking them now. I think we could have taken them a bit earlier to just put a bit of pressure on that kind of area. To be fair, your weapon is really good at being like at the top of like this map, like on those grades, putting down walls like just on like top mid basically, when
Yeah,
like some other weapons in your comp, like specifically the dualies, would like to take those kind of flanks around the walls a lot more. Um, but if no one's gonna take them, then you at some point just have to. And like for any weapon, it's not a bad idea to take this. Now this is scary. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Really, really
Yeah,
good
I got
idea to get behind the wall
too.
there. We didn't get it in time, but I really like the idea. That's like one of those situations where if you can get a wall and get behind that, that's really great.
Yeah, I feel it's because I like activated the special. Like
Yeah.
I might have been able to.
Yeah, that's true. If you activate Whale, it puts you into like being in like kid form for a while. So yeah. If we didn't do that, maybe we could have gotten behind it.
Yeah, it's just like kind of special.
Yep, makes sense. That just tends to happen sometimes. I'm guilty of that as well. Okay. Oh, this is awkward.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. Yeah, we kind of just mechanically don't get out of the bomb's range in time there. That's fine. Yeah, you move up here, which is good. I was gonna talk about like the same thing with that where what we saw in last game, where we like stayed a lot like very defensive when we could move forward, but you're moving up now, so good job. Nice. I like those angles. Yeah, they were really low there, so that's really nice for your team to follow up on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shots
Yeah, I
will be,
think
like,
we
90
could have
there.
followed up like with your whale a bit more here. Like I don't like generally. I don't hate just like what you did here, just like taking a second to gather information. And like see what's going on everywhere. Because that's kind of an idea where like if you do that enough over time, then at some point like you don't need those like second breaks anymore. But like
Yeah,
just doing them like at this point is probably a good idea. So I don't hate that. Like technically the like quote unquote better or like correct thing to do would be to like move forward a lot faster here, to like maybe move forward with your whale that you popped a bit earlier, or like as soon as you get the power climb, just throw that in immediately. But like
yeah, because I could have waited
yeah,
to get more points.
yeah, but like just in terms of like practice, getting better at seeing things, I don't hate the idea of like just taking 1 or 2 seconds to see what's going on the map. Yeah, this is another point where we could be up a lot further. Yeah, nice. I like that you like followed up on this fight as soon as you saw like them being marked by your teammate to decide to help your teammate and fight that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I didn't do anything like on a few like
yeah.
on this few minutes because like I tried to kill someone and then someone else did.
Yeah, that happens, but like if someone else gets the kill, then like the enemy still dies. So that
Yeah.
still works. Yeah, like it's a bit awkward in like terms of your positioning, because like we can't follow up on this fight just because we were down here and the other person dropped below. So that like we were just in a bit of an awkward position. But I think it totally still works of like you're here, that means that they can't go here, they have to go into a different area, which then is covered by your teammate, hopefully. So that works.
Yeah.
And this kill is really nice. Oh, unfortunate. Okay. Unfortunate.
I was like so confident throwing that and yeah, that's like they followed up.
Nice. We have to be very careful here. Like we are Oh, holy moly. Nice. Good job on getting that pick. Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention, is that we have to be careful of people coming from spawn. Um,
Yeah.
like the people that are gonna respawn are gonna be behind you in a second. I think that's what you die to here. Yeah,
Yeah, to the Gluga. I
yep.
thought I had my wall, but I think it was.
Yeah, it was just destroyed. A bit
Yeah.
unfortunate there. hmm Yep. Okay. Yeah, we could have played that a bit more aggressive, but that works.
Yeah, I felt like I stayed like behind a bit
Yeah,
too much.
sure. hmm Nice. This is a good flank. Yeah, good job. Um, yeah, just good job. That was a really nice flank to shut down the push. Yeah. There we have to be a bit more careful of like which positions are safe for us. Because we were just like a bit too like far forward basically in like relation to what paint we had, where our teammates were. We can like see on overhead like our team is just over here, and we don't have
Yeah.
much paint here. So it goes back to a similar thing of what we talked earlier about like checking what kind of paint control we have, checking where our teammates are, to some degree keeping track of enemy positions.
Okay.
Okay, that works. I think we just win here. Nice, good job. That was like you played that game really well overall. I really liked like the fight taking you did, at least in most parts. Do
Yeah.
you have questions about that?
uh, well, actually, after like seeing like the Grindmaker game, like it just makes lots more sense, you know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, this last part of like not being. Well, actually, I was like overextending a bit much because like I didn't see like the paint
Mm-hmm.
of the enemy team.
Yep. Okay.
Uh, yeah, mostly this game, I guess it was just like I felt like in some moments I wasn't like pushing enough, like which is the same that happened on the last game too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, I don't think I have questions
Okay.
from that one.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Then
Yeah,
can look at
and
Google here.
yeah, this last one, if I recall correctly, I also felt like I was a bit confused on what should I be doing because
Mm-hmm.
like uh yeah, I didn't die too much, but I also feel like I wasn't like that impactful at some moments.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um. We'll yeah. We'll see. To be
Okay.
fair, it's kind of difficult to be impactful on this map.
Yeah,
um.
it's big.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think we could position a bit more forward here. Um, I'm not sure, like, it feels like we don't really have a plan of where we want to go.
No,
Um,
I didn't
yeah.
have one.
That's something that is good to keep track of when you're, like, thinking about just opening on a map. Um, just to have a good idea of where you want to go at the start of the game. So like this kind of opening I really liked. I mean, apart from the kind of detour that we took here. But
Yeah,
that's
the
just a
classic.
very small thing. Don't worry about that. Um, like I really like this opening up to this point, and then it kind of felt like we ran out of ideas of what to do.
Yeah, 'cause
To me, the
I could
logical
have
thing
moved
would be to like move up
forward.
here then.
Yeah, but I was just like waiting
Yeah.
to see if I can do anything.
Yep.
Because like everyone else was on the middle, pretty much.
Yep. Um, Yeah, which is like information you don't always have, but true. Yeah, I like this position a lot more. I feel like, yeah, we should definitely be moving up a bit more here. Um, this
Yeah,
actually
because
goes
of the
into
pain too, right?
yeah, this goes into another aspect of awareness, I think. So what we talked about so far was like paint and keeping track of enemies. Um, the next thing what that's important is like looking at the heads-up display over here, specifically like this kind of area, because this gives you a lot of information. Like you see who has special, like you also see who has clamps, and you see, and that's the most important part, who's like currently down and who's like
Yeah.
alive. Um, and if we go back a bit here, then we can see how like most of their team is actually down. Um, they've just had one person respawning. So it's basically just the wiper on like on the map right now. And that should be an indicator that we can move forward right now. So that's another part of like if we aren't sure what we should do in a situation, if we maybe should move forward, we should move backwards. It's a really good idea to look at this part of the screen to see like, do we have numbers advantage? Do we have numbers disadvantage? Specifically, which enemies are alive? Maybe if there's an enemy roller alive, we have to be careful of sharks. Those kind of ideas are really, really good in that scenario. So like in this scenario, we'd see we are one person up. Like a few seconds ago, we were like two people up. And they only have one person, so that should be a signal for us to go, go, go.
Yeah, I mostly see like the heads-up display when I like have like downtime or
Yep.
on those moments where you see like a pause where I pause and do
hmm
nothing.
Yeah. hmm
But yeah,
Yeah, totally. Um, that's something where
should
like,
probably check it more often.
yeah, that's where like training yourself to like integrate that more seamlessly into your gameplay is also really valuable. In a similar way to like what we talked about, just training to like keep track of enemies, to just go into a game with the specific intent of keeping track of the heads-up display as much as you can.
Yeah, I've done a lot of training on that, but I feel like
hmm
still I don't get it. Like
hmm
I do check the heads-up display, but not like I feel like I can't do it when I have too much information. Like I tend to forget. It's just like
Yeah,
even after training, it takes a lot of time, I guess.
yeah, that makes sense. This game
And
can be really
actually,
overwhelming.
yeah, it's too fast-paced. But I
Yep.
actually got better at looking at it. At least that's what I think. My main issue is usually with my team actually. Like I don't
hmm
see when they have specials, and I don't
mm
see
hmm
when they're alive unless it's like too late, I guess. But like I do tend to see too much like the enemy team.
hmm Yeah, that makes sense. That tends to happen a lot, is that like a lot of people train like specifically to see enemy, like if enemies are
Yeah,
down, if enemies have special, because that's like for like starting out, that's what's more important. It's most important to see what the enemy is doing before seeing what your team is doing. But then like as soon as you have a bit of practice with that, like applying the same kind of idea to learning about what your team is doing is like also really, really valuable. And it's kind of the next step of getting better at like looking at the heads-up display. Um, because like from your teammates you get like the same kind of idea who is down, but also like what specials do we have right now? Maybe even if we look at the map, where are my teammates? Um, like what fights can I follow up on? Can I like take any fights where my team could maybe follow up? And that's kind of the stuff
yeah.
where like heads-up display, looking at your map is really, really valuable to get better at team coordination.
Okay.
Nice. We need a bit of clamps now. Okay, we end up getting a power clamp in the end. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the part of this map that is rough, like competitively speaking. Scoring is
Like
really difficult.
yeah, and I don't like the platforms on this map that just move around.
Yep, they are quite awkward, yes. Mhm. Nice. I think you were aware that there was someone here, right?
Yeah.
It looked like
Yeah,
it at
so
least.
it
Yeah,
was
that's really good.
splashmatic.
Yeah, that's really good. That you like maybe through the curling bomb, maybe through like seeing them climb up earlier. That's the kind of like awareness that's really, really strong, and that I talked about earlier a bit. So good job, like seeing that.
Yeah, saw them before.
Yep. Yeah, good job.
What was the curling bomb?
Okay. We're close to where, so we can probably push up here again.
Yeah.
Oh
I don't know
no. Oh
why
no.
did I throw the pan? Yeah.
Yeah. That's an unfortunate situation. We get a PC eventually, but it would have been nice if we got it a lot faster. Again, in solo queue, that's difficult to coordinate. Usually the best idea is just to like, the person with the most clamps makes the power climb, which in this case would be you. Yeah. Unfortunate. Okay, we get one eventually, so that's something. We don't like end up capitalizing, actually. Oh, we don't score that power climb. Do we?
No.
We don't. Okay. Emotional roller coaster there. Yeah, that's the kind of part where like, if we had moved up a bit further, like faster as a team, we probably could have gotten a lot more there. That's just how this game works. It's like, if you do things fast, then usually that's a good thing. But it's also difficult to do things fast, so that's understandable.
Yeah, without like, well, doing it like thinking about it, because like
Yep,
sometimes you
exactly.
level fast, but don't think where the enemy is, and you just get killed.
Yep. Is there someone flanking right now? There is someone flanking right now. Unfortunate.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah. That's really unfortunate. Rough. Zuka moment. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
unfortunate we
me
didn't
doing
see the
it.
person in our base. It's a bit of like, there was some stuff like on the map that we could have seen. We could have like looked at the map itself. But that's, yeah, that sometimes happens. Okay, nice. Can we keep this open? No way. Yeah. Unfortunate. Yeah, that was a bit aggressive to like try to keep the basket open when basically like it was really dangerous to do so. Okay. Unfortunate that we messed that up, but the idea there was
Yeah,
good. To like shark around the jump point and then shoot as immediately as they drop down. I think we just start shooting a bit too late.
yeah, probably. Could have used a wall too. I don't know. I didn't have too much pain.
Yeah, your ink tank was a bit low there.
Yeah.
Nice. This is like really good job surviving there. You played around your wall really well. Yeah, we can finish that. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to watch out a bit here. But ultimately, like, keeping the bridge on this map is usually really strong, so it was okay for you to like stay there for a while. We need to watch out like with our camera control a bit, I think. Because it's like I've seen this a bit before as well. Where like we swim, like we basically like look away from the enemy with our camera when we are like also swimming away from them. So like right
Oh,
here basically, where we turn away from the
yeah.
enemy to swim. That's actually not something that you usually have to do. Usually you can just keep looking at the enemy and just swim backwards. And what's really cool about that is that you still get to see like what they are doing, and you still get all of that like important information that you don't get right now because you're just looking at your own paint. It's like it's the intuitive thing. Like if you turn around and want to swim into a direction, to also look into that direction, and it makes it a lot easier to like see where you have paint and where you want to go. But at the same time, if you
Yeah.
can get better at like learning to look like at the enemy, then that's really good because like it's just better to keep gathering information.
Yeah, I was about to say like, well, how do I how do I paint my way if I'm looking at them?
Um,
But I just noticed like in this case it's like, well, it's my base, right? It's
yeah,
painted my side
exactly.
with my color.
Yeah, usually
Yeah.
the idea is just like you hopefully know that you have enough paint around you to back up. To some degree,
Yeah.
you can still like see some of the stuff. I can show that in in the lobby a bit later. Like your camera means that you can still see a bit behind you, just not as far. Um, and then you can still see like some of the paint.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, good job turning around and punishing that. I like this wall as well. Nice, really clean. Yeah, we don't really have to move much here. I think the
Yeah,
best
so
idea is
the
just to
design
kind of
too, right?
try to paint up. Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, because like we don't have to push that much because like the game is gonna end anyways, right?
Yep, exactly. Like you have a winning score, you just need to stop them from scoring at this point. If you can get a score in, then that just ends the game. At least like if you score after, like as soon as overtime triggers, basically. Um,
Yeah.
but like you don't need to. All you need to do right now is kind of hold space and stop people from actually moving in. Yeah, they don't even have a power clamp, so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I was hoping to get like a game where, because like before, when I played like Clan Blitz on X rank, like I
Mhm,
usually got uh to one part of your video, like the Clan Blitz, right?
mhm.
So there are a lot of times where I get pushed, so they get a good score, then we push and we get a better score,
Nice.
but then they push and they do KO, like I felt
Yeah,
like I was gonna win and
yeah. That's something you have to watch out for in Clan Blitz, is to like
yeah.
at some point you just have to not overextend anymore and stop scoring because otherwise that exactly happens. Um, so yeah, what I was gonna talk about, like if you're moving backwards, then you still see like a bit of your paint here, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not much, but you can still see something. Um, and usually like the idea is just to move backwards in a space where you have ink control, so it's not that big of a deal. Um, and like the nice thing is just you keep track of all these enemies. Like if we imagine all these dummies being enemies, you still know where they are and what they are doing, which is just good. It's good for awareness.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
I'll try to practice that because like I always just turn around and run.
yep. Yeah. It's just a general like you can do a lot of stuff with like the third person camera just because it is third person. You can like look around ledges, like look around this ledge even if
Yeah.
you're behind it, like look up top or something. There's like a bunch of really cool stuff you can do with that. If you just like experiment with moving your camera around in creative ways. Um, at least like in moments where you're not actively aiming at someone, because then like if you're aiming at someone, maybe we shouldn't try to do fancy stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. Um, do you have like questions on any of that?
um, I don't think so. Like, it's pretty self-explanatory. Most of the things
Okay.
we did today.
Yeah, then let's write down some notes. I'm gonna unequip this head because it's really big.
Yeah. Oh, also, for the 52, would you recommend like using opening gambit,
Oh,
or do I need to be like more aggressive for that? Because like I'm not aggressive enough at the start, I guess.
it's up to preference really. Um, and like if you feel like you can get the kind of value out of the opening. This is the kind of gear that I'd usually, like in the past in competitive, I ran with 52. Which is like a bunch of swim speed, just because I really like swimming fast, and it's really nice
Yeah.
for an aggressive weapon like this. And then comeback. I also like, I also sometimes ran opening gambit. There was a period where I really liked opening gambit. It's basically up to personal preference. Gambit is really good for 52 if you can like keep it. If you can get a pick or two in the first 30 seconds, and you can keep it for like at least like say 2 minutes of the game, then that ability is really strong, because it basically gives the 52 everything it wants, right? You're so fast
Yeah.
and you can jump as much as you want, which is really
RNG, yeah.
cool. It's basically
Yeah,
like,
at this
can I get
point,
that
I
at the
died
start?
too much.
Yeah. Because the opening is by far the most difficult thing about like getting value out of Gambit. And like I can see it working in solo queue if you like get consistent enough at like pushing forward early and like setting up a wall, like surprising people who aren't paying attention. Um, in competitive, I eventually stopped playing it as much, because people get better at counterplaying it and just playing safe for a while until your gambit
Oh
runs out.
yeah. Yeah, I've seen some videos of like well, what's that, like screams? I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, scrim.
But like where they say at the start like, oh, they have gambit, let's just play safe the first
Yep.
seconds, and no one dies and it just
Yep.
goes away.
Yep. That's the unfortunate part, is that like if people know to counterplay it, it's rough. It's difficult to
Yeah.
do anything, and at that point, like comeback is just a really good all-rounder ability for the weapon as well. Basically, you can do both.
Okay.
Okay. Let's write down some notes of what we talked about. I think you've actually, like you said earlier, you've been taking notes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we can actually probably do this a bit faster. I mean, we'll do it as normal, I guess. Yeah. The big topic basically was like awareness.
Yeah.
That's like the awareness usually encapsulates a bit more things than we talked about today. But we talked about a bunch of really important topics around awareness.
It's too much.
So yeah, we talked about like keeping track of enemy position, both through like training yourself to just see where enemies are and like remember that and think of what they could do. Keeping track of enemies, and also through like looking at the map and stuff like that. Maybe we sometimes see people who are damaged, and then we can see them on the map as well. So yeah, that's mostly like yeah. We'll talk about the like training part of that in a second, because that's basically what's the most important part of this.
Yeah.
Paint control, which is just like a surprisingly effective way to keep track of like how much you can do and where you should be right now. So like as a quick recap, I guess we can open our map real quick. That is not the map. No, that is still not the map. This is the map. And if we open our map, then we see like what paint control we have at a like really quick overview. And that allows us to think about like where should we be right now, because in a lot of cases the answer will be just pretty much somewhere around the edge of like where the enemy paint starts and where like our paint stops, at least as a 52. Map. And I mean also just like keeping track of that while you're just swimming around, because that's useful as well. It's literally like neon bright, so it should be like easy to see. Wow.
Yeah. Also for the area was something I didn't actually do before was like well, pretty much what you said, like about paint control. Like, so if they have paint on this area, well, they're likely around there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Hmm.
yeah, it was pretty helpful.
Yeah, true. You mentioned a good point. This like paint control very much also impacts where the enemies are and like how we can keep track of enemies by just seeing where enemy paint is. Especially like rollers or something really like to play around like sharking in like their ink. Um, so that's like especially in those kind of matchups, it's valuable to think about.
Yeah, with rollers, I tend to be more careful with that because like sometimes I've seen like
Hmm.
on ink block, mostly like you see like the small platform at
Hmm.
the base. So if you go down like in zones or something, you cannot get up that easily. So if it's painted and you have like a roller or a blaster, they're probably around there like sharking.
Yep. Yep.
And if you just go down without painting before, well, you're gonna get splatted.
Yep. Exactly. Um, yeah. And the map also like teammate positions. I'll just write down. Or just teammates in general, because there's a lot there. You can see your teammates on the map. You can see where they are, and that's also usually a good indicator of like which spaces are safe to stand in. We saw that in the Flounder Heights game, in that one situation where like your rest of the team was still kind of on the ramp, leading up to top mid, and you were already trying to fight like around the grades
Yeah.
area of top mid. Which then meant like you were a bit too far forward for the rest of your team. And then the heads-up display, because the heads-up display is really good. It's basically like, I think like after paint control, the second most like just general like indicator of what state the game is in right now and what you should do because of that. So from that we can see like who has numbers advantage right now. Are there any specials I need to watch out for? Do my teammates have any specials?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Especially numbers advantage. And I'll write that down especially because that's super important. Because numbers advantage means that we should most likely move forward. If we have more players, then we should most likely try to move forward and take more space. If we have less players, then we should expect the enemies to do so. And we should think, like, what can I do to stop that? Maybe I should back up to stay safe. Maybe I can shark somewhere. All those kind of ideas that come with like being numbers down and trying to like mitigate the badness of that situation in a sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also saw like
Mhm.
the composition, but just a little, right? At least for the cooler and like painting around blasters and all that.
Wait, could you repeat that?
Oh, like at the start, like for the composition of the
Oh,
team,
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah. Team compositions.
yeah, we also saw a little bit of that.
Yeah, that was just like a kind of like point not really relevant to the rest here, but I guess we can still talk about it and write it down. Which is like when analyzing weapon comps, like try to think about like who puts down paint, because like as a 52, you're really good at being aggressive, but you also have decent paint.
Yeah, actually pretty good paint.
Yeah,
I
like
would
this weapon's paint is surprisingly good for the fact that it's a two-shot shooter. Like this is really good. So sometimes like your role in a team comp actually just comes down to painting a lot. Because the rest of the team like maybe can't paint as well, and then that responsibility just kind of falls to you, because I mean someone will have to do it, and we're just
Yeah.
trying to find the best weapon to like at that point to take care of that. So like if we are in a comp with a lot of weapons that can't paint, then that's our responsibility. So that's like 52 specific. Should we paint, or like how much should we paint? Just in general, because like of the rest of the team comp. or like the other option would be to play more aggro and play more for picks. Because sometimes it also happens that you just have like 3 other painting weapons on your team, and that then just means that you have to play aggressive.
Yeah.
The cooler thing, we actually didn't get to that. That's unfortunate. Maybe we can go back into the game. Of like generally being aware, like if the enemy has cooler, we should be aware that like we shouldn't trade with them if we can avoid it. If enemy cooler. Because like if we trade, then that's an advantage for them because they respawn so much faster. So basically the idea because of that should be either wait until they don't have cooler, which usually doesn't work too well because the effect lasts so long. But if you know that the effect is about to end, then you can definitely wait. Or like the other idea is just take fights a lot safer. Try to not get into a situation where you would trade, but instead try to only take situations where you would like are relatively confident that you'll win. So instead of like running forward as much, maybe try to paint up a bit first, try to throw down walls, get specials, all that kind of stuff that comes with like the fight being safer. Because we want to avoid like trading as much as possible, right? And we just want to clean picks if we can.
Totally. Revive.
And also just like if the enemies don't have cooler, then that's usually a good idea to play more aggressive, because you know that they'll get cooler relatively soon. And if you can kind of exploit that situation where they don't have a cooler, then that's good for you, because like just because of like situation value, if you wait, then they're gonna get a cooler, and at that point it's gonna be much more difficult for you to like get value out of fighting. So we can generally think like if they don't have cooler, we can take fights more aggressively. We can try to look like maybe we can trade the cooler player, or like the player that has the cooler and is trying to charge it right now. Those kind of ideas. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Even like trading the cooler weapon will be like pretty good, I imagine, because like
Yep.
you delay the cooler.
Yep, exactly. Because that's then like that is a really good advantage for you then. Hopefully I have space to write this down here still. More aggro. Trades good. Good. Amazing. This is like the eternal struggle of running out of paper but still wanting to write down a note. Okay. Yeah. I think that one actually, like the last thing that we talked about is like how to practice all of this. Practice. Because I mean it's up to you like how much you actually want to improve and how like deliberate you want your practice to be. It's totally fair to just play the game to have fun and not do any of those kind of practices. But if you want to like improve as fast as you can, then doing those kind of more deliberate practice methods is a really good idea. So like basically focusing on like one of these aspects and trying to measure yourself by doing like only doing good at that and trying to improve specifically that. For example, like for the map, trying to like get better at just opening and closing the map in the middle of the game and getting as much information as you can. To some degree, it's valuable to do that like more than you usually would, more than like is even helpful to do. So like in a game to just like literally open the map like, I don't know, every 30 seconds or something, which is more than you'd usually do it. But through like doing it so often to see like when is it really helpful, when is it not as helpful, and just like burn it into your muscle memory basically.
Yeah.
And then like
I imagine.
Yeah, sorry, could you repeat?
Oh, like doing it faster because like whenever I open the map, I like stay like a few seconds there.
Yep, exactly. That's the kind of practice where like just doing it a lot will mean that you can do it faster, and that's really, really valuable because fast is important in Splatoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like similar things apply to hard, apply to like keeping track of teammates, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any questions about any kind of stuff from here?
Well, for the practice,
Hmm.
how many games or how often? Well, not often. Like, how long do you think like one should practice like each ability? Because like
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of people like saying like, what if you want to like uh yeah, learn a skill, like in this case, like for a game like
Hmm.
this, it takes around like too many games, like I don't know, like around 50 games of Splatoon, maybe
Mm,
for each, or is it too much? Because
I
like,
I don't know, and I think it's different between like different people. Um, I've heard before like that like just in general, like making something be a routine takes like 3 weeks. Like not like 3 weeks of like pure Splatoon gameplay, but like 3 weeks of doing
yeah,
that like routine consistently for it to actually become a routine. Um, and I'm not sure how much that applies to Splatoon. And
exactly, because like it's like one
mhm,
game,
yeah, um,
not like one. I'm not sure.
I think it's pretty much just like as much as you want to, and as much as you feel like it helps you. Um, what I'd usually do is like dedicate one practice session to this. And to me, a practice session is like 1 hour 30,
Like,
2 hours, like around that kind of time. Maybe 1 hour
yeah,
if
like
you don't have as much
another
time in a
I
day.
imagine. Yeah.
But like within that general time frame, and just say, I'm gonna do only this in this practice session, and then just dedicate that entire practice session to that. Um, and usually that's like most of what I would do, and then kind of maybe get back to it like 2 weeks later or 1 week later with the same kind of practice session. Um, and in the meantime, like doing different things. That's how I've done it in the past. I could see different things working as well. I think that's like something that's really individual and basically up to you.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to find my way there because like I I've I've tried doing like this practice session, like deliberate practice session
Hmm.
before, and I actually got better with the heads-up display
Hmm.
and a few other things. But still, I feel like it's not like that good, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know where to stop.
I
So
mean,
I
I
guess
guess.
it's just like doing
Mhm.
it consistently, like every
Yeah.
now and then.
I guess it's just like as long as you notice yourself like somewhat struggling with that or like not being as good as you want to be with that, you can just continue doing that practice.
Yeah.
Um, and like maybe at some point it's valuable to evolve that practice to be like a bit more focused on what you actually like still need to improve on. But I think just as a general basis, this works.
Okay.
Um, okay. Anything else?
No, I think it's like pretty clear. I try to go
Okay,
practice all day.
that sounds good. Yeah, then I think that's everything for today. Sorry for like communication being so weird. Um,
No, it's okay. I guess you're like busy. Like I just play, you know.
yeah.
And I also like take long to respond because like I don't use Discord as much
Mhm.
outside like whenever I'm playing.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah,
No, it's
because like
okay.
for context for the people that are watching the stream right now, the reason that this like didn't happen on Monday is that I was like really late to reaching out to Purely. Um, like I think I only reached out like earlier on Monday, like 4 hours, 5 hours before the stream would have happened, and that just wasn't enough time.
Yeah, I
Um,
actually like forgot about it because like like I filled the form like a month ago or something.
yeah, it's that's just the thing. Like because it happens weekly, it's there are like the waiting times are a bit because I've gotten a bunch of responses, like especially at the start. And that just meant that the queue is kind of long.
No, it's okay. I'm actually like thankful that we managed to do it like this week because like
Hmm.
I was like expecting to be like put back on the queue like till July
Yeah,
or
no,
August.
no worries. Okay. Then yeah, I hope this was helpful. I'll send you like a feedback form later that you can fill out. You don't have to, but you can. And it
Oh, no, no
helps
worries.
me.
I will. I will.
Um, yeah, but I think that's everything for today. Thanks a lot for yeah, for being there. And for everyone in chat for watching. Let's see if we can rate anyone, because I haven't done that in the past
Let's
few
see you.
streams. Um, is there anyone streaming? Is there anyone streaming? Kiva is streaming Mario Kart. We could watch Mario Kart. Um, okay, I can't find a Splatoon stream right now. That's probably just me not following enough people on Twitch. But yeah, we'll just
Yeah,
end the stream.
it's kind of weird. Yeah.